Most people remember Lincoln as the great emancipator and one of the reasons that we have President's Day. But let's talk about how he signed off on the largest mass execution in US history. An execution that killed 38 Dakota Native Americans at one time and 2 later on. In fact, many of the people that we praise as Civil War heroes were perpetrators of horrific acts of violence against Native Americans, especially during the era of expansion into the Great Plains. So in 1862, the US government repeatedly violated treaties and withheld food and payment to the Dakota people. Starving and desperate, the Dakota people fought back in what became known as the Dakota War of 1862. After their defeat, hundreds of Dakota were captured and sentenced to death in sham trials, with some of them lasting under 5 minutes. Lincoln personally reviewed the execution orders and approved the hanging of 38 men on December 26, 1862, with a crowd of white settlers cheering on. Similarly, General William Tecumseh Sherman is well known for his march to the sea during the Civil War, where he burnt Confederate cities to the ground. And after the Civil War, Sherman turned that military strategy onto Native Americans in the West. He saw Native resistance as a problem to be crushed, saying at one point, "The more we kill this year, the less we will have to kill next year." As the head of the US Army, he led brutal campaigns during the so-called Indian Wars, which included the forced removal of tribes like the Lakota, the Cheyenne, and the Comanche. And to do so, he utterly destroyed villages, killed off buffalo, and tried to starve Native communities into submission. Even Ulysses S. Grant, the Union's leader, played a significant role in the violent displacement of Native Americans. Grant started what he called a peace policy to end corruption in Indian affairs. But the peace came with a catch: forced assimilation and confinement to reservations. When tribes refused, the US Army brought down brutal force. Under Grant's watch, the US seized the Black Hills from the Lakota after gold was discovered there. And this, of course, violated a treaty that declared it as sacred land. This directly led to the Great Sioux War of 1876 and the bloody battles that followed it, including the massacre at Wounded Knee. Now, it's important to remember these details to avoid this mythologizing of Abraham Lincoln and the Northern Union fighters as universally benevolent or racially progressive. Like, of course, the fight to end slavery was righteous, but it aligned with the economic and political interests of Northern white elites. Meanwhile, Native sovereignty posed a threat to Western expansion, which fueled policies of extermination and removal. This pattern is what scholars call interest convergence, whereby marginalized groups only gain rights when those rights converge with what's convenient or profitable for those in power. But I have a whole article on Substack which goes into all of this much deeper, and you can go in the link in my bio to find that. This specific topic was requested by one of my subscribers on Substack who's a member of the Lakota Nation, so I want to give him a shout out. And of course I want to know what you all think about this, so let me know in the comments and follow for more.